In the first blank of paragraph 1 are the seller's names. The second blank in paragraph 1 are going to be the buyer names. On page 1 in paragraph 2, section A, you will have the legal description of the property as well as the address. Just for an example, we'll say we're in lot 10, block A. The subdivision here, the city is the next field, followed by the county, and then the last field is going to be the address along with the zip code. If you have any exclusions, they're going to go here on page 1, paragraph 2D. If you have no exclusions, you'll write none. Some examples of exclusions would be perhaps a custom grill in the backyard. Maybe it has clearly a place that it's homed at, but it's not attached, and the sellers want to take that with them. Maybe there are china cabinet in the dining room. Maybe it takes up the whole wall. It might look like it is attached, but it's actually not, and it's important for that to go with the sellers. There could even be custom curtains in the bedrooms or the entire house. You definitely want to put that there. Maybe you have, I've seen sellers want to take their TV mounts with them. Anything that the seller is going to take with them, this is where it will go. If there's nothing, just write none. Page 1, paragraph 3 is the sales price. 3A is the cash portion of the sales price. If the buyer is just going to pay it cash only, you would put the full amount here. If the buyer is going to finance, then you'll put in 3B the amounts that they are going to finance. And then you'll want to check the appropriate box for the financing terms. Page 1, paragraph 4 is the license holder disclosure. This is the section in which you'll disclose any sort of familial relationship that you have with the parties of the contract, either agent and also any sort of financial benefit that you may have. Let's say, for example, the listing agent is the mother for the seller. Let's say, for example, that you're the buyer, you're an agent, and you own an LLC. You're buying the property in the LLC name. Page 1, paragraph 5 is the earnest money. There are a couple statements in this paragraph that are important to point out. The first is the number of days that you were given here, and that is based on the effective date. Same thing with any additional earnest money, also based on the effective date. That's why it's important to execute the contract on page 8, because that's the effective date that these time frames are going to be based off of. The other important statement in this is that the seller may terminate this contract if the buyer does not deliver the earnest money as prescribed. So 2 important things just to point out there. Your first blank is going to be the amount of earnest money that your buyers are going to put down. The second blank, the escrow agent is the title company. The third blank is the address for the title company. We'll go ahead and put the full address here. And the following blank, the fourth one, this is where any additional earnest money would be put down if the buyers were going to bring additional earnest money. And the following blank, the last one here, is the number of days that they would bring the additional earnest money in. If your buyers are not bringing any additional earnest money, best practice is to write none in that blank and NA in the number of days. Page 1, paragraph 6A is the title policy. It is negotiable on who will pay that expense, the sellers or the buyers. Typically, the sellers will pay that, and typically you will see the same title company that is in section 5 of the contract. Now, it doesn't have to always be that way. Occasionally, and the buyers have their right to go ahead and pay for this themselves, and they can pick a different title policy from a different company if they so choose. But again, usually we see the sellers paying for this, and we see the same title company as we see in paragraph 5. Paragraph 6 spills over onto page 2 of the contract. So 6, 8, 1, and 2. You will pick one of these, the title policy will either not be amended or the title policy will be amended. And then who is going to pay that expense? The buyer or the seller? Typically, if we see this option checked, the buyer's usually paying this. That amount is about 5% of the title policy. So it's not actually that huge of an expense at all. On page 2, paragraph 6C, survey has 3 options. You will check one box only. Let's talk about option 1 real quick. So option 1 says within X amount of days, the seller shall furnish to buyer a survey and the T47 affidavit. Then it proceeds to say, if the seller fails to furnish the existing survey or the affidavit within the time prescribed, which is the number of days that you would enter here, the buyer shall obtain a new survey at the seller's expense. So even if you have the box checked here that the buyers are going to pay for the survey in this section, as the listing agent, if you do not provide the T47 with the survey by the number of days entered here, the buyers have the right to get a new survey at the seller's expense. Buyer's agents. If this listing agent is not providing the T47 and the number of days here, get your buyers a new survey at the seller's expense. So, option 1 is the one we see the most often. Usually this is 10 days or less. Lots of times we see 3 to 5 days on here. This is negotiable as well. Lots of times we will see that the buyer is going to pay the expense, assuming that the survey and the T47 come in and their lender doesn't accept it. There's an option 2 that says within X days the buyer will obtain a new survey at their own expense. The third option says that the seller is going to pay for a new survey to be furnished to the buyers. Again, one of these boxes will be checked. If you check option 1, you need to also address who will pay for the survey if it's not accepted by the title company or the lender. Paragraph 6D, objections on page 2. Some examples of objections would be the buyers want to put a pool on the property. Maybe they want to use it for a short-term rental. Even if they want to use it for a long-term rental. Let's say they want to split the property and make a duplex out of it. Or maybe they want to run a dog daycare. These are types of objections that would go here. Number of days, as a listing agent, you'd want to try to get these on the shorter side. As a buyer agent, you want to try to get them on the longer side. Buyer agent tip, see if you can slide an NA in here, and that will give your buyers up until close. If you do not have any objections and your buyers just want to use it for a single family residence, you will write none in here. You do not put residential or single family because the contract is already a 1-to-4 residential contract. Page 2, paragraph 6E2, the membership in a property owners association. This is an HOA. If the property is in an HOA, you will check the first box. If the property is not in an HOA, you will check the second box. Page 4, paragraph 7B has 3 options to choose from. If you're a listing agent, you definitely want to make sure that the seller's disclosure is complete before going active. And you always want to have this box first. It will protect your sellers the most. If you're a buyer's agent, you really want to see the seller's disclosure before you make your offer. So try to get that, and in which case you will check box 1. As a buyer's agent, if you do not receive the seller's disclosure prior to making your offer, you'll check box 2, and you want to make these days as few as possible. There's also an option 3 here, that the seller is not required to furnish the notice under the Texas Property Code. The previous slide will give you those sellers that are not required to furnish the notice. Page 4, paragraph 7D, acceptance of property conditions. You have 2 options here. You will check 1 box only. The buyer either accepts the property as is, or you can put any sort of specific repairs and treatments that need to be done to the property prior to close. Some quick examples of this would be maybe the MLS noted that there was some foundation issues. Maybe they had an underground pool and they want to remove that. A common one would be if you want to have the house professionally cleaned, this is the section that you will put this in. And let's be real specific here, guys. This is saying that we're going to pick the cleaning company here. We know what level of service we're going to get provided by said cleaning company and when the cleaning is going to happen. Page 5, paragraph 7H is the residential service contracts. Those are your home warranties. The blank here is for a number amount. These vary depending on the home warranty company. You want to make sure to only put the dollar amount in there. If you add the home warranty company's name, then you are saying that that specific home warranty company is to be paid, and that takes away the buyer's options of shopping around and seeing which home warranty company would be best for them. Also, they may change their mind and want to go with a different home warranty company. So it's best practice to only put the dollar amount there. Page 5, paragraph 9 is the closing. You'll simply put the date in here. Check with the lender. Make sure you're giving yourself enough time that the lender is going to be able to do the footwork on their end so you can close on time. Page 5, paragraph 10A, the buyer's possession. You have two options here. First option is upon closing and funding. Your second option is according to a temporary lease, in which case you will attach that lease. Real quick note, paragraph 10B, leases, deals with the delivery of the leases. However, the security deposit is addressed at the closing paragraph, paragraph 9 on page 5. Page 5, paragraph 11 is the special provisions. For example, if you had multiple sellers or buyers and not everyone's name could fit, you could put the additional names here. Oops. If you had a property that had an exceptionally long legal address, perhaps, you could finish that here. Let's just say anything else. Best practice is to ask your broker before you put anything else in special provisions. Just double check, make sure there's not already a form for it, and make sure that you wouldn't be practicing law by making such statements. Page 5, paragraph 12, the settlement and other expenses. Paragraph 12A1B handles the amount of closing costs or any seller contributions that are going to go to the buyer. If there are none, best practice is to write none in the field. Page 7, paragraph 21, the notices to the buyer and the seller. Your information does not go here as in care of. That adds you to the contract and you're not a party to the contract. In addition, paragraph 6b clearly states that paragraph 21 is to where the buyers are to be notified of their disclosures and such. Usually the buyer's email address will go here. And typically we see the seller's address here. Paragraph 22 on page 7, the agreement of the parties. This is where you'll check the boxes for all of the addendums and any documents that you have in relation to the contract. Lots of times we see the third party, we'll see the HOA addendum, maybe there's an addendum for the minerals, coastal area for our agents in Galveston. Terminate due to lender's appraisal. We see that one a lot. Seller's temporary lease. Some common ones that we'll see under other will be the non-realty. And maybe if you have any exhibits that you have added to the contract. Page 8, paragraph 23, deals with the termination option. These are negotiable. We'll just say, for an example, $100 for 7 days. You want to try to give yourself enough days to get your inspection done. And then the last box is here. The option fee will be credited to the sales price at closing, or the option fee will not be credited to the sales price at closing. You do not have to have an option fee or period to have a valid contract. If you don't, best practice is to just write none in the blanks. And in which case, you will not check a box below. Page 8, paragraph 24 refers to any attorneys, says to consult an attorney before signing. Always advise your clients to consult with the real estate attorney if they're confused, don't understand, want additional clarification on any of the addendums, disclosures, etc. to do with the sales transaction. Lots of times we don't see anything here in these fields, so we'll just write advised and none. After all parties have been notified of acceptance, you'll execute the contract. Usually this is the listing agent, but it could be the buyer's agent. Either agent can execute. Page 9 is the broker's information. Real quickly here, let me put the information. Buyer's agent, Your name goes here. Your license number will go here. Your email here. Your phone number. Ali will be the supervisor. Ali's license number. The address to the office in Austin. The phone number. Fill it out completely. And that's what it'll look like if you're on the buy side. Then you'll find the listing broker information in the MLS and license numbers on track if you're having trouble finding anything. All that'll be there. You'll want to fill out all the information similarly to what you filled out for your brokerage. At the bottom here is where you'll put the commission offered in the MLS. Listing agents, if you get an offer in that doesn't have the information here about the brokerage, just go ahead and put that in here. You would be the seller as the seller's agent in this scenario. You put your license number there, your email, your phone number. Licensed supervisor again is going to be Ali. Ali's license number here. The address in Austin again. The phone number to the office. City and state, zip code. And this is what it'll look like if you're the listing agent. Now, if we're doing an intermediary transaction, then we will check the box seller and buyer as intermediary. On the same side, we will go ahead and put the buyer agent name following the listing agent's information. So this will be Agent B. Buyer's agent's license number, Agent B's email, Agent B's phone number. Agent B's licensed supervisor is Ali again. Ali's license number. Address to the office. City, state, and zip. Commission to the buyer's agent. Page 10 is the receipted page. This page is important because this is your documentation that you got these items in on time as prescribed in the contract.